I guess he feels better. We are the...
Creature Commandos Origin Explored. Hello and welcome to another marvelous video, as the DCEU is transforming to DCU under the leadership of James Gunn, who announced the company's grand plan for the upcoming phase of the DC Cinematic Universe earlier this year. We are certainly in for exciting times in the cinematic world of our beloved DC Comics. DC Films' live-action films will merge with its television series, animation projects, and video games in the future. While we already know that Batman and Superman will take the lead on the big screen with lanterns and the Amazons ruling on the small screen, let's turn our attention to animation. According to Gunn, Creature Commandos will be the first animated series from the new DC universe. This remote unit consists of volunteers who have been transformed into troops who resemble some of pop culture's biggest horror monsters and beasts. This squad has included some of DC's most powerful characters ever produced. We understand that Creature Commandos is somewhat unknown compared to the other DC projects, but don't worry, we're here to help you get through it all. It's time to explore the origins of the Creature Commandos. But before we go into our explanation, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click for you, but for us, it means a lot. Thank you, and let's begin. Who are the Creature Commandos? The Creature Commandos were a weird paramilitary organization developed by the top-secret Project M during World War II as a psychological warfare experiment. The Second World War had completely engulfed Europe by 1941. It was just a simple matter of time until America was compelled to acknowledge the crimes committed by Nazi Germany. And to support the Allies, the US government collaborated with all armed services to create a program specializing in psychological warfare. Their endeavor became known as Project M in exclusive circles. Project M established itself in a hidden laboratory annexed beneath the Statue of Liberty in the spring of the same year. Professor Mazursky, one of Project M's most prominent scientists, recognized that psychologically all people were viscerally horrified by visions of grotesque, hideous monsters. Using such a paradigm, he worked to develop a team of super-powered troops whose physical appearance would strike fear in opposing forces. Mazursky first recruited soldiers entirely on a voluntary basis. Warren Griffith, a soldier with mental problems who believed he was a wolf, was transformed into a werewolf. Vincent Velcoro, a soldier court-martialed for injuring his commander, was transformed into a vampire. Elliot Taylor, a soldier severely wounded by a landmine in the Pacific Theater, was repaired back together as Frankenstein's monster. Soon, a fourth female member joined him, Dr. Myra Rhodes, who turned into the snakehead mythological gorgon called Medusa. They were placed under the direction of Lieutenant Matthew Shreve, a cold yet fully human commander who may be the most monstrous of them all. Together they became known as the Creature Commandos. Creature Commandos team evolution and major storylines. First adventures. The Commandos are initially sent to France, where they encounter Nazi-created android replicas of different global leaders, including Stalin, Roosevelt, and Churchill. In their second assignment, they saved Dr. René Frederick, a famous scientist captured by the Nazis. Dr. Frederick turned out to be a Nazi imposter that she sacrificed herself to save Sergeant Shreve after luring them into a trap and feeling regret. To the displeasure of the Commandos, this demonstration of kindness from an adversary does little to influence Shreve's vehement hate of Germans. After being arrested and imprisoned in a death camp, the Commandos eventually discover the real Dr. Frederick. She befriends Elliot, but he is obliged to murder her so that her knowledge of nerve gases does not go into the hands of the Nazis. In his despair, Elliot commits suicide but is stitched up by Project M. This time he is given basic vocal cords. Following this, the Commandos leave Europe. The Commandos harass a little town named Freedom, New York, full of Nazi supporters. The Commandos were disappointed since the supporters were still humans, while Shreve regarded him as subhuman and a menace to America. Another ethically problematic assignment undertaken by the Commandos includes a boarding school in Germany that is brainwashing children. Shreve played Nazi Colonel Emil Kruger during this operation. The Commandos cannot hurt children, but Shreve opened fires on them anyway. In the end, an experimental steroid that had been tried on the youngsters kills them all. However, after saving several blind French youngsters and receiving medals of valor in the process, the Commandos more than redeemed themselves. themselves. Later, the Commandos are momentarily stranded on Dinosaur Island while investigating the disappearance of scouts over the Pacific. As they fled, Shreve boasted that he had photographed the dinosaurs for High Command. However, the Commandos had to burn the photos because they did not want innocent critters to become war machines. After turning the dinosaurs on them, the Commandos were able to blow up a fleet of Japanese battleships. Griffith's serum is perfected during this time, allowing him to regulate his transformations. Later, the Commandos returned to Dinosaur Island where they encountered Jake, the first GI robot. After assaulting an enemy ship, Jake was abandoned in the sea. As their jet was ambushed by a dinosaur and crashed, he encountered the Commandos. The Commandos and Jake uncovered a rumored lost Atlantis colony in the Pacific together. The lost colony had produced a crew of robots to continue the job of Atlantean invasion, and these androids took over the consciousness of the GI robot Jake, eventually overruled their orders and killed itself in order to destroy the colony. The Commandos soon encountered Jake 2, Jake's successor, and together they saved a Scottish princess from the Blitz, and Jake 2 became an official member of the Creature Commandos. Finally, the Commandos and Jake 2 are charged with an unspecified crime and given the option of phasing execution or piloting an experimental rocket to Berlin. However, the rocket deviated significantly from its intended path and flew into deep space, disappearing. They subsequently appeared as hostages on Brainiac's ship, from where they escaped later on. M-Team Alpha. Nonetheless, the unit returned to Earth and was renamed M-Team Alpha. Captain Hunter of Hunter's Hellcats joined the Commandos as a new member and commander. The new Creature Commandos were instrumental in preventing an invasion by the extraterrestrial coalition Terra Arcana. After they returned from space, each appeared to have undergone various transformations. The original members have returned to the latest incarnations except for Elliot, who was pretty much the same. Bogman, an amphibious mutant, Aten, an Egyptian mummy, Gunner, a robotic zombie, and Colonel Ben Hunter, whose aging has been delayed, were the new recruits. Lieutenant Matthew Shreve seemed to have perished while waiting for the squad that he commanded to return from space. The team fought Simon Magus, Hiatus, Savar, and other early Justice League adversaries. They also came upon Claw the Unconquered. Because of modifications made to some early Justice League characters, this series is no longer considered official canon. Shade. A new incarnation of the Creature Commandos was established and depicted in the pages of Frankenstein, Agent of Shade. In the new 52 reboot of DC's continuity, this form of the squad is directed by Frankenstein and operates as field agents for the mysterious organization Shade. Callus, who seems to be an Egyptian mummy, Warren Griffith, and Vincent Velcoro rounded out a crew. Griffith and Velcoro were both previously humans who agreed to be mutated by Dr. Nina Mazursky, who subsequently modified herself into an amphibious monster resembling a combination of the Gill-Man and a mermaid to battle with the squad. The Bride, Frankenstein's estranged wife, was also a part of the squad until she left after discovering the fate of her son, with Shreve later returning to rejoin. The Creature Commandos and Batman the Brave and the Bold. The squad made their first and only appearance in Season 3, Episode 12, titled Four Shades Spectacular. The narrative starts with Lieutenant Matthew Shreve, who is flying his elite combat squad into the South Pacific in 1943 to locate 6 missing Allied planes and one of its special operatives, Batman. Meanwhile, pterodactyls assault the plane, but Shreve manages to steer it to a safe landing on a neighboring island. His 4 soldiers, Sergeant Vincent Velcoro, Private Elliot Lucky Taylor, Dr. Myra Rhodes, and Warren Griffith flee the plane. The Creature Commandos investigate the island and discover a baby Stegosaurus. Lucky succeeds in subduing a ferocious dinosaur onslaught. Other dinosaurs round him as a white Tyrannosaurus Rex approaches. It speaks out, revealing itself to be the Ultra Humanite and that it has taken control of the dinosaurs. The Ultra Humanite intends to rule the globe with his new army. It offers the Creature Commandos a spot at his side, but Shreve refuses to team up with an Axis stooge. Unimpressed, the Ultra Humanite instructs his dinosaurs to catch them, enforcing his orders using a remote control. Ultimately, Batman appears, distracts the dinosaurs, and instructs the Commandos to get the remote control. The Commandos push ahead with the dinosaurs close behind. Sergeant Velcoro changes into a bat and takes the remote, which Shreve blows up. The Ultra Humanite shouts in rage and flees into the forest as his former followers pursue him. When he is unable to escape into his castle, the Ultra Humanite extracts the Tyrannosaurus Rex's brain canister and climbs inside provide a slight crack in the barrier. It's only a brief reprieve until the dinosaur bursts inside the stronghold and attack Ultra Humanite. The island is then evacuated by Shreeve, Batman, and the Creature Commandos. The lieutenant photographs the dinosaurs to turn the information along to his superiors so they may return and utilize the dinosaurs as an army. The Commandos later smash the camera and explain that while they may tolerate being changed into monsters for a more significant cause, the dinosaurs are simply animals unaffected by violence and wish to remain that way.
Ready for the fight.
The Creature Commandos appear in a self-titled segment of DC Nation shorts. The Creature Commandos also starred in the 2014 series of short cartoons named after the squad. They were featured in 3 short episodes, each lasting about 75 seconds. It was a light-hearted recounting of the Creature Commandos' exploits. First episode was titled Trailer, as it was basically a teaser of the show's concept and also introduced the original 5 members of the team. The second episode was called Lucky Day. As you can guess, it primarily told a narrative of Private Elliot Lucky Taylor, who got his vocal cords replaced by a donor, but the donor was a lady leading Lucky the Frankenstein monster to have the voice of a young lady, which made everyone crack up hard. The third episode was named Weak Link and contained a brief amusing narrative about Warren Griffith, the team's werewolf. The episode saw Warren succumbing to his canine instincts, which resulted in his squad being blasted by Nazi forces, but ultimately he overcame the canine impulses, defeating the Nazis and being appreciated and respected by his teammates. The 3 short episodes were an excellent and entertaining way to become acquainted with this band of misfits. The Creature Commandos in Flashpoint. The Commandos appear in Flashpoint's Reverse Flash Altered Universe instead of Lucky. Frankenstein is a member here. Nina Mrazki, Dr. Mrazki's daughter, is also a member, having been changed by her father into an aquatic monster to save her life. Velcoro is an RAF pilot rather than an American in this universe. During World War II, the gang fights the Nazis and eventually kills Hitler. They are supplanted by the GI robot program after the war, with a joint action killing engine serving as the prototype. The Commandos are placed in suspended animation as Project M before being brought to the Project Superman's headquarters in Metropolis. After a big battle, they awaken and travel to Slaughter Swamp in search of Mrazki's secret lab. Shreve's daughter Miranda and her commandos, as well as GI Robot, assault them there. The Bride finally saved the commandos, who were outnumbered and outpowered. Shreve assembled a new band of commandos between being frozen and revived, including Man-Bat, Dr. Phosphorus, Dr. Medusa, and Solomon Grundy. Shreve and his family are murdered by the new squad who betrayed him. The new commandos were formed at the request of General Nathaniel Atom, who was fed up with Shreve's fixation with the commandos.
I guess he feels better. We are the...
Upcoming Creature Commandos animated series in HBO Max. While they are among the most visible of DC's horror-war hybrid notions, the Creature Commandos are far from alone. For over a decade, DC's Weird War Story series brought a slew of supernatural aspects to one of the DC Universe's interpretations of the battle. Over the years, Sergeant Rock was confronted with several supernatural dangers, which is a part of the character to this day. Strange themes like the haunted tank and ridiculous weaponry like the war wheel rounded out the remainder of DC's supernaturally tinged take on the worldwide struggle. All of this implies that the inclusion of the Creature Commandos in the new DC slate and the inclusion of Rick Flag Sr. ostensibly in place of Shreve hints at the foundational role that the Creature Commandos may play in the new DC universe. The involvement of Rick Flag Sr. in Creature Commandos and his participation in Amanda Waller's tales, implying that it's in canon with the Suicide Squad, means that the series will be set before the present day during Rick Flag Sr.'s prime on the battlefield. As a result, the Creature Commandos may be utilized to tease out various themes and characters that would eventually grow into other storylines and concepts in the DC universe. The appearance of Frankenstein and the Bride of Frankenstein suggests that the program may ultimately address DC's supernatural agency, Shade. The hypothetical scenario also raises the prospect of the Creature Commandos colliding with the Justice Society in its World War II iteration. The presence of the Creature Commandos opens up many plot opportunities, discreetly making them a highly effective program to help kick off James Gunn's new approach to the DC universe. James Gunn has said that he has already penned down all 7 episodes of Creature Commandos, and an official still from the show has been released. On the other hand, Gunn and Safran have repeatedly said that Superman Legacy would be their entry point into the revamped DC universe. So with Superman Legacy hitting the theaters on July 11, 2025, Creature Commandos should arrive no later than mid-2025.
What are they waiting?
Marvelous verdict. The DC Universe's horror side is yet to be explored in mainstream adaptations, apart from the Keanu Reeves Constantine film, the Arrowverse's John Constantine and short-lived Swamp Thing show, and a few horror scenes in Nolan's Batman and James Wan's Aquaman. DC never really explored its supernatural side in movies or TV shows, despite several attempts at a Justice League dark film in the past. Although the Creature Commandos aren't as well known as Constantine, an animated Creature Commandos show for the DC Universe is a promising start nonetheless. Creature Commandos is already distinct from the previous DC animated series and superhero adaptations in general, thanks to the World War II scenario and a vast roster. We just can't wait for it to be released. So who is your favorite member from the Creature Commandos? Let us know your thoughts in the comments section below. If you enjoyed watching the video, go ahead and click that like and share video with all your friends. I'll see you soon.
You heard the man, Creature Commandos.